Hello, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Here we are. Can you hear me now? Guys, you are all very sweet. You are all very, very, very sweet. Just checking that seems like the stream is working well. Hmm. Just checking in YouTube if it's working well. How is the evening going? Guys, are you enjoying your Saturday? Today weather was fantastic. Honestly, if you could go out, I hope you did. I think it was very, very good, very, very beautiful. I have spent the majority of my evening marking exams for year 10 and year 11. Almost done. Almost done. But some of the answers in the exam, they were like shocking. I don't want to name shame anyone, but it was shocking. Yesterday in judo went well. Not as good as 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago I went to judo and I really killed it. Honestly, it was very good day 2 weeks ago. I went to judo and I basically defeated everyone in front of me. But yesterday was okay. It was alright. Sometimes win, sometimes lose, but it was okay. Alright, I hope you all had a wonderful Saturday. Let's go and talk about science a little bit. I wanted to share with you that I have noticed how, I wouldn't say poorly, but we could use the word poorly, is that we don't work over scientific skills properly. I have tried, David, but I couldn't find the place. I will have a look later with longer time. I didn't want to be late for our beautiful stream today. I don't know that game. I hope it's nice. Anyway, I was marking an exam for year 11 and it was frustrating me that many students, and we are talking about good students. We're talking about good students. If it is fun, share us the link in here. Many students, they didn't know exactly how to represent line graphs. Or, yeah, line graphs, okay? And they lost so many marks. And I was wondering, do you think that in our science lesson we should be working, instead of that much content, a bit more in skills? Because sometimes teachers, we assume that of course it's going to be a GCSE session. Absolutely. Actually, I wanted to talk about one exam that my year 11 did, and there is one question that is obviously a GCSE question that I want to go through it with you guys because I was surprised, because I thought it would be very easy and still don't worry, because it's gonna be about graphs. I will start talking about graphs, so it is relevant for everyone, including people who don't study science. They need to be able to represent graphs. I don't know, I'm talking about people who study statistics, maths, people who study, even anyone who wants to talk about art and they are researching about how different artists they present their work, and they need to prepare graph about it. Is very, very important, very, very important. And many of my students, I would say that out of 25 exams I have marked, maybe 2-3 they got full marks in the graphs, and I assume that graphs is very easy, but seems like it is not the case. It reminds me when I did an exam question with my year 7. I asked them to draw a bar chart, and they look at me like I'm talking Chinese. Honestly, they look at me like I'm talking in a different language. And I was thinking, how is it possible that you can pass through primary school without doing how to do? So this can apply to our. Well, I assume that the year 13 physics they can do graphs. I assume that. Yeah, I'll say that our year 13, they know how to do graphs. There are some questions in paper 3 that they involve lots of graphs, but I think they are I'm quite confident in my year 13. Still, Destroyer Cage, if there is any exam question that you would like to share with us, I am more than happy to solve it here, and I'm sure that even our younger, we will appreciate that you share an exam question with us. You just need to share it in here. I know you are in my physics class. I assume you're in my physics class. Alright, I don't want to take more time, and I want to show you the question I'm talking about, okay? I will do that if you write me in Teams what question would you like me to solve in here. Do you think you can do that, Destroyer Cage? Would you do me that? Would you? Perfect. PhD is fantastic. You are addicted to games. You're addicted to games. You need to do more graphs. This is the graph I'm talking about, okay? I thought it was very easy, and I was surprised that good year 11s, they couldn't solve it. Here we go. They give you a table when they give you force and extension. Clearly, this is an example of Hooke's law. That's for those who don't remember, Hooke's law is the law that explains how elastic objects behave. Elastic objects behaves in such a way that when you apply force over them, they will expand or they will stretch. But the amount of stretching or expansion will be directly proportional to the force. In other words, more force, more you will be able to stretch or to squash an object, an elastic object. Very simple, right? And actually it has a mathematical expression that is force is equal to K times E, where K is the spring constant. Spring constant, it depends on the object, okay? Gomu gomu, exactly. If you look elastic objects, you will know that Luffy is impossible. That's why it's an anime. Anyway, this seems very simple, but when I asked the students to represent this, they didn't do well. Okay, starting first. Traditionally, when you have let me use a ruler, and you should always use a ruler. I will use pink color today. Today is pink day. And you have y-axis and you have x-axis. Remember that all experiments, they have two variables. Dependent variable and independent variable. In other words, there is one variable that we are going to measure, one magnitude, if you don't like the word variable, and there is one magnitude. Yes, you lose marks if it isn't proud. In any experiment, there is one variable that we are measuring and one variable that we are able to change. I will give you examples of experiments. Imagine that you are testing how tall are students according to their age. So you have height, age. How many hours the students play in video games? Students play in video games. There is always one thing that you measure against something else. Always two. We could talk later about control variables, but in every experiment there is always two variables. Okay? Fantastic. So normally the one that we are able to change, we call that independent variable. Independent variable. And the one that we are measuring, we call that dependent variable. Now, when they ask you to represent the data in a graph, you might be thinking, which one goes there? Normally, in the y-axis, we are going to put the dependent variable. What do you mean? One of my students told me the other day that he's drinking now, how do you call it? Sparkling water. And I was thinking, who is drinking Sparkling water. I think this is an Andrew Tate thingy, but sparkling water is disgusting. What's your problem? You need some professional help. Dependent variable in the y-axis, independent variable in the x-axis. So basically, the one that we measure goes in here. The one that we are able to change comes in here. Okay? Normally. However, remember that the formula that I gave you earlier, force is equal to K times extension. Now we are going to represent force and extension. Where would you put each? Where would you put each? Would you put force in the y, or you would put force in the x? What do you think will be the best? I'm not watching Solo Leveling. Not watching Solo Leveling. Force in the y. It is correct. Thank you, David. And in here we will have the extension. Exactly like that. Why is that? Because once we have our line graph, which is going to be a straight line, the gradient, and we talked about this in last lesson, the gradient of this graph is going to be the spring constant. That's why. Okay? It is straight. Yes. It's because of practice. You just need to practice. Okay? Something I have also noticed is that when we are drawing a graph, we are not keeping the proportions. So imagine I'm doing a few lines in here with my ruler, and each one is 1 centimeter. Another, and same in the x. By the way, I like doing lines, these little lines, because that helps me later to represent the dots. David, get rid of that one. Thank you. So, imagine that here is 1 and here is 1. And here is 2 and here is 2. What is going to be the next line? What is going to be in here and in here? This is 1, 2, 1, 2. What is going to be in here? Obviously 3. So why I'm saying this looks obvious, but it's really not. I have seen people saying 1, 2, 2.5. And I was like, wait a second. We need to keep the same proportion at all times. If we don't do that, the graph is not accurate. So if we are saying that between 1 and 2 there is 1 centimeter, between 2 and 3 you need to have also 1 centimeter, and you need to keep that all the time. Exactly. You can do however you want. You can say that 1 centimeter is 0.5 or 1 centimeter is 0.10. You can do however you want, but you need to keep it. You need to keep it. If you don't keep it, it will not go well. Let me show you one graph. I will try to show you the graph without showing the name of the student, okay? So this is not going later against me, okay? Give me a second. Here it is. So let me see if I can cover the name of the student. Wait a second. I want to cover the name of the student. All right. So here it is. You cannot see the name of the student, okay? So this is completely anonymous. So this is what I mean. You see? First of all, this person wrote extension and force. As I said, it would be much better if you put force and extension. But later on, let's look at the numbers. You see? It goes 0.5, and I counted the squares 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I was thinking, well, another 5 squares, it would be 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But instead of writing 1 in here, The person wrote 1 in here. That's why when she tried to do, sorry, I said that it's a girl. I shouldn't have said. It's a girl. When she's trying to do the best fit line, there are some data that they don't fit. Okay? Because the proportion was not kept. And when we don't keep it, the graph doesn't go well. In this case, this cost her 2 marks because of the access and because of not keeping the proportion properly. Okay? Also, best fit line. Best fit line, if you have, let's say that we have this one, this one, this one, and this one, imagine you have different points. Best fit line would be a line that passes through nearby all the points. That would be a best fit line, okay? And the majority of the cases is one single straight line. What graphs can you see that they are not a straight line? For example, those who are studying physics, half-life, they will not be it would not be a straight line. It would be a curve going down. But apart from that, the majority of graphs that you will see in your exams and in your subjects, they will be straight line. Okay? Apart from, with very little exceptions. With very, very little exceptions. Alright. That is what I wanted to mention to you about graphs, and I share it with you because it's something I have been marking this evening, and it really shocked me. It really, I would not say annoy, because it didn't annoy me, but it really shocked me that such a old students they couldn't do it properly. All right, I want to have a very quick check. If I ask students who are in here, if they're in Key Stage 3 or Key Stage 4, what do we have in here? It's just so I can have certain idea about what will be the best to talk about. Key Stage 3, 4. Today we don't have lots of spectators, I think. 4. Most probably I will talk about biology then because they had the exam on Tuesday. Year 10 or year 11. That's fine. Okay. So I think I will talk about biology because I don't know if you, well, obviously, if you are year 11 or you have year 11 brothers and sisters, you know that they have the biology exam on Tuesday. Can I go over density? Yes, we can go over density. Do you find density difficult? What is happening there? What is happening in the chat? Why are you arguing, guys? Guys, love and compassion, please. Love and compassion. Monoclonal antibodies. Okay. I can do monoclonal antibodies, and I think everyone will find that topic interesting because it is the use of tumor cells, and probably something that many people do not know about it. But just to let you know, that is don't worry. Pro Z stars. Here we are all love and compassion, okay? We are all love and compassion in here. Think about what would Jesus do. Just keep it like that, okay? All right, let's talk about monoclonal antibodies because I think that everyone, including my youngest, yes, they will find this quite interesting, all right? Okay. Let me move the camera a little bit. Monoclonal antibodies. Sorry, the camera is doing a shadow in there. The camera. How can I move the shadow? Good. I'm happy that you don't know what it is, because this topic is going to surprise you, okay? Let's start with breaking down the meaning, and you will see that the meaning is going to give us lots of information, okay? Mono is a word in Greek. You know, in science we love Greek, yes? And mono means one. And clonal means clone. And antibodies, what are the antibodies? What do you think are the antibodies? Or what do you recall they are about? Or what do you think they are related to? Come on, let's participate a little bit. What do you think they are related to? Where do you think we can use the word antibodies? No? Okay, so antibodies is related with immune system, okay? Antibodies, they are proteins. I'm sure you remember what is a protein. Produced by white blood cells. That is an antibody, okay? It kills pathogens. Well, it could kill the pathogen or could deactivate the pathogen, okay? So imagine that in our body, I will try to do a pathogen. This is an angry pathogen, okay? This is a pathogen. A pathogen enters in our organism, okay? And there are different ways to destroy a pathogen, okay? Our immune system has different barriers of defense. First of all, your body needs to the pathogen needs to pass through your skin, through your eyes, where you have your eye drops. They are quite salty, so they actually can kill some pathogens. The sweat is also quite salty, so it also kills pathogen. It needs to pass through your mouth. So first the pathogen needs to pass through the mucus, your stomach acid. But let's imagine that the pathogen is already inside your organism and is in your bloodstream. Let's imagine like that, okay? What can happen next? Well, you have different sort of white blood cells. One of the most important one is called the macrophagos. Macro means big, and phagos means eaten. So macrophagos, they are white blood cells that they just swallow, engulf, eat the pathogens. Completely eat the pathogen. But they don't work all the time, okay? The truth is that there are other cells that they are specialists into one type of pathogen. The macrophagos, they can destroy all sorts of pathogens. Doesn't matter if it is a virus, a bacteria, a protease, doesn't matter. The macrophagos will go against all of it. It's like one sort of police. It goes against all the criminals. Doesn't matter what sort of criminal, against all of them. However, there are other white blood cells that they are specialists in one type of pathogen. And they produce a certain proteins that they attack one type of pathogen only. There are so many species of Canis familiarus because dog is a very common animal. And since it is domestic, there are many species of dogs, okay? It's basically because it is a domesticated animal. Anyway, so our white blood cells, they produce antibodies that, by the way, they have the shape of a Y letter. They look like a Y. They go to the pathogen and they deactivate the pathogen, or they can kill the pathogen directly. But once the antibodies are produced, yes, the pathogen is over. However, antibodies, they are very specific. What is the meaning of this? That the antibodies we have, for example, for coronavirus, they don't work for any other virus. They are antibodies against coronavirus, or the antibodies that you have for a particular sort of flu, they're only working against that particular virus, but not against any other. Okay? And also, in order to produce it, it is time consuming. That's why when you get a flu or you get any sort of virus, you are sick for a short period of, well, for a period of time, because your body is creating, making, designing, producing those antibodies, and that takes time. And during that time, you feel well, you feel sick. Now, like David said, will it be possible to produce antibodies in much shorter period and in larger quantity? Yes, using the monoclonal antibodies. That is the use of the monoclonal antibodies, okay? Now, to produce the monoclonal antibodies, we use something that normally it is against us, which is a tumor cell. Anyone will be able to tell me what is a tumor cell? What is a tumor cell? Not necessarily a cancer, but yes, cancer is a type of cell. Okay. Cancer is a type of cell. A cell of a malignant cancer that divides. Just remove the part. Exactly. So cancer cell is any sort of cells that grow rapidly without control. Then that tumor can turn into cancer, or it could be just a benign tumor. If the tumor is inside a membrane, it's a tumor. If there is no membrane and it's spreading around, it's a cancer. Also, the cancer kills the cells around it. Meanwhile, the tumor, with a surgery, you can remove it. So your body fights against cancer cells. The problem is that they reproduce more rapidly than your body is able to destroy them. So your body, let's say that destroys one, but the cancer cell reproduces rapidly and produce two more. So the cancer cell reproduces faster than your body is fighting against it. That's why your own immune system is not able to defeat cancer. Okay? Anyway, we were talking about how we can produce antibodies rapidly. In order to produce them rapidly, we're going to use a tumor cell. I will represent the tumor cell like this. Okay? It's a cell without shape, without function. It's a tumor cell, okay? Tumor cell that they are called, let's say that this is a melanoma. Melanoma is a cancer cell, okay? It's normally in this, if you have a melanoma, let's say that's a tumor cell, okay? Let's say that is a tumor cell. And what is the property, what is the characteristic that makes the tumor cell interesting? That they reproduce very quickly. They reproduce very quickly. And what will take, let's say, 1 day to produce, in this shorter period of time, you will have lots of tumor cells. Okay? So what we are going to do, attention to this because this is quite interesting. So, first of all, we are going to get an animal. Sorry, but I didn't do GCSE art. So if you don't like my mouse, you can just go and complain to someone else, okay? This is a beautiful mouse, okay? Which is the most common animal used. Yes, okay, fine. All right, normally we would not use dogs because dogs are quite big, okay? We're gonna get a mouse. It's more common to use in in laboratories, okay? It's a capybara. Could be a capybara too, why not? I like capybaras. Anyway, we are gonna get the mouse and we're gonna infect it. Not infect it, we are gonna give the vaccine, okay? And we're gonna also infect it with the, well, no, we're not gonna put the pathogen, we're gonna just put the vaccine, okay? Why do we want the, because they reproduce very rapidly. In a couple of weeks, you can have hundreds of thousands of mouses, okay? And also they are small and nobody cares about killing them, to be honest. Anyway, we put inside the mouse the vaccine, so the mouse is going to produce the antibodies. The mouse with the vaccine will start producing antibodies for the pathogen. We need a living thing to produce the antibody. The antibody is not something we can make in the lab, okay? Remember that the antibody is this protein that is used to deactivate or to kill the pathogen, but it cannot be made in a lab. We cannot make an antibody. We need a living thing to make the antibody. We could use humans, but between using humans or using rats or mouses, we prefer torturing and using the mouses and the rats, okay? But if we have to choose, we choose the animals over humans, okay? Now, obviously, the mouse in the body will start producing antibodies for that pathogen, okay? But this is gonna be at a normal rate, at a slow rate, okay? It will take time. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna take them out. We're gonna take them out. And then we are gonna combine those antibodies with the tumor cell. We're gonna combine the antibodies with the tumor cell. So we're gonna have the tumor cell with the antibody, sorry, I'm saying pathogens too much, attached to it. Okay? Now we're gonna have the tumor cell with the antibodies attached to it. The tumor cell is a bit silly because now the tumor cell will think that the antibodies that we just add in there, they were always in there. Then the tumor will say, oh, this new thing that they put on me, it was always with me. I didn't notice about it. And now the tumor cell with the antibodies, which by the way, this has a particular name, the tumor cell with the antibodies, this is called hybridoma, has that name, okay? Now the tumor cell will start replicating and we're gonna have lots of tumor cells. But with the antibody. All of them with full of antibodies, okay? So what would normally take days or weeks, since the tumor cell replicates much faster, it's gonna take much shorter time. What we do later is we separate it, remove the antibodies, and ta-da! Now you have your antibodies in large quantity. This is the process for the production of antibodies. Now, I don't know if you have ever heard about, there is some famous politician called Donald Trump. Have you ever heard about Donald Trump? Have you ever heard about Donald Trump? Yes, of course you have. So, Donald Trump, I don't know if you remember because it was a bit long time ago, he went for the elections of the United States. Yes, he is the president of the United States. He went for the elections in 2020, where he lost against Joe Biden. But during the campaign, he got COVID. He got COVID in 2020. And he healed from COVID in just 2 days. In just 2 days, he was completely healed from COVID. Meanwhile, those who had COVID, you know that normally it takes longer to heal from COVID. And how was that possible? How was this heal that quick? Because they use the antibodies. Normally, if you get COVID, your body will produce the antibodies to defeat the COVID virus. However, in this case, Donald Trump, they gave him the antibodies that they were previously prepared. So his body didn't need to make those antibodies. So he didn't need to wait for that time. They were already prepared. They gave the antibodies to him. Disease is gone. Now, you might be thinking, if this is like this, if this is the case, if it is that easy that we can just make antibodies for a disease, why don't we do this for every single disease? We could heal so many diseases. The problem is that, guys, this is very expensive. This requires lots of money and lots of resources and lots of scientists. Just to let you know, the treatment that Donald Trump had to heal from COVID cost approximately $120,000. $120,000. Would you pay $120,000 just to heal from COVID faster? Probably we wouldn't do that, because we know that in a week, 10 days, 2 weeks, a month maximum, we will be fine. But because he was doing the election campaign, Donald Trump didn't want to wait for the time to heal, and he went for the antibodies. Yes, I'm not saying, obviously, happiness is more important than money. It's whether we are talking that in his case, it was an emergency because he was running for president of the United States and he wanted to heal as soon as possible. That's why, instead of waiting for his own body to heal, he paid for the antibodies. Okay? That is the reason why we cannot use antibodies for all the disease, because it takes time, it takes money, and it requires very high tech that is not available for everyone. In many countries, this tech is not available. Okay? That is the reason. All right, this is about monoclonal antibodies. What else? I think there was a question in the chat. Would you like to ask again? Because I saw that you were talking about it, but I couldn't respond it on time. Could you please repeat that? Salt water into normal water. Yeah, boiling. Boiling, or evaporation, or crystallization. Okay? That crystallization or distillation, they are example of separation techniques. Okay? Yes, okay, I will talk about density. I will talk about density because, to be honest, you have been asking for a little while. This topic is relevant for key stage 3 and key stage 4. All right, so density. Okay, let's start with for the whole ocean. No, it wouldn't be possible. It wouldn't be possible. There are countries that they can get water, potable water, from seawater. For example, I don't know if you have ever heard about a country called Saudi Arabia. Have you ever heard about Saudi Arabia? Have you ever heard about Saudi Arabia? I guess you have. So in Saudi Arabia, there are 0 rivers. Nothing. No rivers. Nothing like Thames, nothing like Kent, no rivers. So it is quite difficult to access to potable water for the population. How do they get the water? From the sea. They get seawater. They go through a process called, there are 2 processes mostly. Inverse osmosis, which I don't want to explain in here because it's a bit complicated, and distillation, which is something you might have experienced in the lab, which is basically boil up the water, get the salt. Okay? And actually, if you go to your kitchen and you get some salt, you can read sea salt. Okay? Because it's salt that comes from the sea, in theory. All right? That is about the whole ocean. No, because distillation itself requires lots of energy, lots of fuel, therefore lots of money. So impossible. Anyway, the definition of density. Amount of mass per volume. Okay? No, reverse osmosis is not in the spec. In the spec, there is osmosis. All right? Generally speaking, density tell us about how the substance are arranged. For example, the density of a solid is more than the density of a liquid, and of course is much more than the density of a gas. Okay? A solid is more dense than a liquid, and a liquid is more dense than a gas. Okay? It will be biology. You have osmosis in biology. Okay? Now, the formula that Pro C stars have been sharing with us for quite a while, density, all capital, density is mass divided by volume. I don't like to use the letter P because the letter P could be also used for momentum, okay? Which is a different topic in physics. So just write density. The letter that we use for density is another Greek letter, but I will write that in a second. Now, about the units. I like for mass kilograms and for volume liter. But for volume, there is more than one possibility. You can measure also in centimeter cube or in milliliters or whatever. Okay? There are different units for, yes, it's raw. There are different units for volume. Generally speaking, mass is in kilograms. Please never use pounds or stones or whatever barbaric unit you use in here is kilograms, okay? The unit for density could be, for example, kilogram per liter. That is an easy one, okay? Now, about rho, the letter that Process Stars is talking now is like a P with a tail, okay? This is the formula. Yes, there are some people who are like from Irish background that they measure their mass in stones. I believe that 1 stone is like 7 kilograms, but that unit is not used in anywhere. But I think in Ireland and in England, people who are from Irish background. I have never seen it in anywhere else. If there is anyone with from an Irish background and you would like to share with us, just let us know, okay? What else I wanted to mention? I will do the triangle. The other day, one of my most intelligent year 10, she asked me for, not year 10, she was year 9 actually. She asked me the triangle and I was a bit shocked. Do you really need the triangle? Density is mass divided by volume. Anyway, to use the triangle, those who are not very familiar with, because I didn't know about the triangle before I arrived to UK. Whatever you are looking for, you cover with your finger. So if I'm looking for the density, I do mass divided by volume. If I'm looking for the volume, I do mass divided by density. And if I'm looking for the mass, I do density times volume. Okay? Fantastic. What else do you need to know? Okay, I will do it in here because at the back I have already written. So, if you want to find the mass of an object, you will use a scale. Okay? You just basically get the object and put it on a scale. Alright? If you want to find out the volume, now it's a bit more complicated. Depends on the shape of the object, we have two options. If the object has a regular shape, imagine that we are talking about a cube. Imagine that they ask you, calculate the volume of a cube. Well, in that case, we use a bit of maths, and we do side to the power of 3, that is the volume of a cube. Okay? Alright? David, I think you need to go for the ice cream. You need to go for the ice cream, okay? Because I'm finishing in 5 minutes. Alright? What do we do if the object has irregular shape? For example, something with irregular shape, this mouse. This mouse is not a cylinder, is not a cube, is not a sphere, is not a pyramid, it doesn't have a regular shape. Actually, if you see, has one side is larger than the other one. This doesn't have a regular shape. How do we measure the volume of an irregular shaped object? We're gonna use something called Eureka can. And how does the Eureka can works? Well, the Eureka can looks like this, and it has a tube in here. Okay? We fill the Eureka can with water up to there, just below the hole. Okay? And then we get the object completely inside, the irregular shaped object completely inside the water. We say that we submerge into water. What is going to happen once we put the object inside the water is that the level of water will raise up. And once the level of water raise up, the water will come out through that hole. Okay? And then we measure how much is the volume of water that came out. And now the volume of water that came out is the volume of the object. That is the key. Volume of water displaced is equal to the volume of the object. And that's how you find the volume of an object that doesn't have a regular shape. By the way, this that I have been talking about and the Eureka can, it is based on a principle that has a Greek name. And I will write it in here because I don't have more space. The name is Archimedes principle, which is a Greek philosopher who lived in an Italian city called Syracuse in the, I want to say the 4th century before Christ. I can be wrong. I can be wrong in the date, okay? Anyway, super important scientist, philosopher, mathematician, a combination of different things. And one of the things, 400 BC. And one of the things that we have got from him is the Eureka Can and the Archimedes principle. And it's something super easy that all of you can try just today. Do it with the permission of your mom or your dad. If you have a bath, fill the bath fully, or not fully, but fill the bath of water. Get into, see how much water the level goes up, and the amount of water that goes, the amount of, the volume of water that goes up is the volume of your body. Because if you think about it, you also have an irregular shape. So if you want to measure your volume, you also need to do Archimedes principle. You can use a swimming pool. The problem is that in a swimming pool it will be much more difficult to see how much is the level of water that goes up, because the swimming pool is massive, it's very big. So it will be much more difficult to find out how much is the level of water that goes up. Meanwhile, in a bath, it's quite easy to see. As soon as you get into the bath, the water goes up. Okay? I will make it smaller. You're gonna make a small swimming pool. I don't think swimming pools in England are a thing. I haven't seen many. Okay, guys. Pro C star. I have also fulfilled my promise to you. I have talked about density. Is there anything else on the table in the last few minutes? I was thinking maybe one day I will do book recommendation and movies recommendation, because I have there, this is only one of my parts. I have another one in the living room, but I have another one that with more books and more movies. One day I will share it with you. But no, there I don't have anything. Well, I have a movie that is The Merchant of Venice. I think The Merchant of Venice is in English language, English literature exam. Best movie for science, in my opinion, I like Interstellar. Interstellar is very good. And it's scientifically accurate. I would recommend you maybe to watch Interstellar. There are some parts that you might find complicated. You can watch with your parents and they can help you to understand what is happening in Interstellar. Favorite scientist, I don't have favorite scientist. I can tell you who was the best scientist. The best scientist ever is Isaac Newton. Is it not in Netflix? If it is in Netflix, I wouldn't mind to share. If I know who you are, I can share with you my account. But I will tell you something about Isaac Newton that you will like it, okay? So Isaac Newton is responsible of the laws of motion, the laws of gravity, the laws of optics. He also invented derivatives, integrals, and after he invented and discovered all those things, then he turned 26 years old. All the things that Newton did, he did it before his 26th birthday. I want you to think about it, okay? We're talking about the most successful scientist in human history, and he did all his work before the age of 26. Yes, he was very young. He was very young. He was a bit of a weirdo. I'm not gonna deny that. He was a bit misogynistic. Do you know what is misogynistic? Do you understand the word misogynistic? Okay. Misogynistic. Okay, fine. So if you understand what is misogynistic, I will not do mansplaining. Yes. Look, this is now, as you can see, I don't know for how many days I have been streaming, but this is now like a it's some sort of routine for me. So we will have time to go over all the topics in biology, in chemistry and physics. Now there is some sort of urgency for your year 11 colleagues because they need to do their GCSE exam. But after that, we will go topic 1, topic 2, topic 3 in every subject, okay? I plan to do a calendar. I'm planning to do lots of things. I have lots of plans for this community, which my intention is that it expands. Obviously, I love spending time with. I think Miss Gogma wants to say hi. Come here. Come here. Now you open the door.
I just wanted to ask how long that.
I don't know, guys. Soon. Come, just say hi.
Alright.
We have David in here.
Alright. Hello, hi.
Now you can leave.
Okay, how much left?
Not much. We were just saying bye. Okay? So as I was saying, I have lots of plans for this community. It will happen in time. Okay? It will happen in time. That's everything from me, guys. As I promised today, I have spent 1 hour with you guys, and as I said, I did. Tomorrow probably will not be 1 hour because normally I hate Sundays. This is my worst day of the week. Probably tomorrow is gonna be half an hour. All right. It has been an absolute pleasure to spend 1 hour of my Saturday with you. If you just joined to the video, please watch it because we have been talking about monoclonal antibodies and density, and we have talked even earlier about graphs. I think the stream today was quite full in terms of content. So if you just joined late, please have a look because it will be quite useful for you. All right? Yes, Sundays are horrible. Have a lovely Saturday evening. Go and spend time with your family. Watch a movie. No swearings, please. You are more than welcome to share any image, song, or whatever you want to do. I would really appreciate it. Okay? I will probably watch Vinland Saga later on. Guys, God bless you all. Have a lovely Saturday evening. Ciao, ciao.